Hello, my fellow geeks. I'm Mark, and today on Elite Geek, I'm going to do a secret hidden video that won't be that hidden, but to answer some questions I'm getting on print your flat surfaces on your resin printers. I've gotten some great questions on here, and I want to do a quick update just to answer some questions and explain a few things. I got a really good question here from NZ Fine Scale, and his question was basically, why do these ridges here on this print that I did at 45 degrees not look like what I showed here at 45 degrees in this example in the video? And the main reason for this is this is not something that I made here. This is at a totally different height than what I used for my cubes, and I'm not even sure what printer this is. This is really just an example. The easy way to visualize what's happening here is the problem is that the angle is almost perfect. It's not quite perfect, it's almost perfect. And anybody who's been in computers for a long time may just recognize that. As soon as I saw it, I knew what it was. And that's because I go back to my first video monitor was a CGA monitor. And I had to look it up. It was actually, this says 16 colors. Mine was 2 colors. And it was 160 by 200 pixels. That's how big the resolution was. So like now we have 1080 and whatnot. It was 160 by 200. And the thing was, I'd play video games on that. And when I did, it couldn't draw straight lines at all. And I'm going to show you an example of that, what happens. So this is paint. And I'm just going to draw a line. And if I draw a perfect line, hey, I got it in one try. It's perfect and it looks great. But what happens is when it's not quite perfect, look at that. You can see that right in the middle. I basically moved over 1 pixel. There's a step in the middle. It can't draw a straight line at that angle. The monitor can't do it. And that's the same problem your printer has. If I go a little bit further, there, that looks pretty much exactly the same as that. That's exactly what's happening, where the angle is almost right, but all it can do is make these stair steps. At 45 degrees, the same thing happens. Now, it's a little harder to find exact 45 degrees. That's pretty close right there, I think. Maybe my monitor can't even quite do it. There, right at 45 degrees. And it looks good, and that's because, well, or I'm not even sure that's 45 degrees. I think it is, but it's probably a little different because it's based off of the resolution of the monitor. I could use the arctan calculation to figure out what this angle is and where it's perfect, but that looks really good. But if I go just a little bit off, look at that. Stair step, stair step, stair step, stair step, stair step, stair step, stair. It's exactly the same thing. And that's what is happening on your printer when that happens. This is just the best that it can do at those unusual angles. Some angles it can do perfect, like flat surfaces. This is why I print most of my things straight up and down. But if I got it wrong just a little bit, it looks terrible. So, but if I can find the right angle, and it's not even, I only know how to calculate using the arctan method, but some other angles look good, like that angle. It looks pretty good. I don't know what that angle is, but I might print on that. It does look a little fuzzy, but that may be acceptable. But it doesn't look as good as a straight 45 degree angle. And you can even see it as I get there, when I get closer, it gets better and better and better. And this, even with there's 2 stair steps in there, it's hard to get it just right. There it is, I think. So that angle just looks better than that. And this angle is what you are calculating with the arctangent method that I listed in there. So hopefully this helps. The other question I keep getting is, how do you find out what size pixels you have? Just go to the website for the manufacturer for your printer, and it will show right there. It'll either show it in millimeters, so like 0.05 millimeters or 50 microns. Most of them are going to be right around there, 50 microns, 51 microns, 52 microns, except for the mini 4K, because that is a 4K screen. It's just smaller. So as an example for that, just so people understand, because I've seen actually some confusion on that. Now I'm going to take longer. How do I draw a square? Oh, shoot, I didn't want to have to do any editing on this, but now I might have to. Oh, there we go. Duh. I didn't use paint enough. So if I have a 4K monitor that's this big, if it's 4K, that tells me how many pixels are in this square. It's actually the measurement across this length for the 4K is what they mean. It used to be the other way, but I mean, I'm not gonna get into that. So say this is my Mono X printer, and this is the print size that I have, and it's a 4K screen. But if I have this size, which is my mono, and this is only a 2K screen, the deal is that this screen is bigger, it's 4K, but that's how many, there's a set number of pixels that are in here. I can have fewer pixels in here, but they can be the same size because it's smaller. Now, what happens with the Frozen Mini 4K is I have the same size build plate, but this is a 4K screen. So if I say this is 4K, and this is 2K, and 4K. So what happens here is this screen and this screen have the same number of pixels in them. These pixels just get to be smaller. So this will have a 35 micron pixel size. It's square, so that's the X and Y resolution on your screen. But this will have a 50 micron screen size. And that's how big those pixels are because they're cramming them in there. This with a 2K screen, most of these are also 50 micron because there's fewer pixels, but there's also, I spelled it wrong. Did it again. There are fewer pixels, but it's a smaller area, so it ends up being pretty much equivalent. And this is what most people are doing. The only one I know of is the Frozen 4K that actually does this. This is probably next gen for everybody else. Everybody else is going to come out with one of these. But for now, it's just the Frozen and then everybody else here for the most part. So I think that's going to be it. If you aren't sure, so one more example because I can't help myself. So say this is my Mono X, but then I have the same thing here with a 4K screen. And see this outside square? That's the Frozen Mighty. It's just a little bit bigger. But what happens when you do that is it's a 52 micron screen. With a little more prep, and if I felt like editing this, I'd actually count this out because it's 4180, something like that, as if you count how many pixels are across this way by 2800. I'm not going to look it up because then I'd have to pause and edit this video, and I don't want to do that. But that's why, and I said 52 micron because it's still 4K, and each square has to be just a little bit bigger because the screen is a little bit bigger. So that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you found this useful. I'm going to link this just to the main video. So if you found this, welcome to the secret side. Feel free to comment on it if you have any more questions. I'd love to be able to help. I love talking about this kind of stuff. But until next time, it's really true on this one. If you're going to be a geek, you better be an elite geek.